Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Andrzej Sidło from the Ministry of Climate and the Environment, the Department of Nuclear Energy. Thank you very much, Mr. Pilk, for a few words of introduction. In my presentation, I would like to say a few words about a certain section of the nuclear program, which is the support of local industry. This is the elaboration of such a document was foreseen last year within the preparations of discussing and approving the Polish nuclear power program. If you've noticed in point 2.3, such a document elaboration was foreseen for this year, and I would like to say a few words about this program. So, as the speaker before me emphasized, in the Polish nuclear power program, certain values have been incorporated, and these are our target values of the engagement and involvement in the Polish nuclear program of local industry. And the ministry, mainly the appropriate ministry, so currently the Ministry of Climate and the Environment, which should take on specific supportive actions, preparing Polish industry. And one of these measures is also elaboration and later the implementation of such a program, which we're currently calling the support program for the nuclear power program and the industry. The strategy of this document is at the last stages of establishment, and on a working basis, we're evaluating that in the next weeks the document will have its final form. It will be also published and made public. And a certain type of consultation, mainly with industry. What is relevant? Before publishing such a document, we would like to say a few words of introduction. What is this situation from our side? How we see this program? What will be this program of supporting local industry? Such a program will put into order certain activities which we in Poland or the ministries have been realizing already. Before it was the Ministry of the Economy, since 2016, the Ministry of Energy, then after the reconstruction of the government, the Ministry of National Assets. Now it's the Ministry of Climate and the Environment, which is responsible for it on a working basis, and also the preparation of the industry. So far, we have foreseen this by in the context of implementing nuclear energy and the status of local industry. We came to the conclusion that we have a relatively good image and picture of the Polish industry, what we have, what's the degrees of implementation. What's most relevant, and which the speaker before me stated, there are a considerable amount of Polish companies which recently or just recently or currently are realizing various projects abroad, whether it's through the construction of nuclear power plants or servicing modernization. So we're not starting from scratch, from zero. All these activities, the objective of them will be to adapt the existing industrial capacities to the requirements of a nuclear sector. What is also relevant to emphasize and underline is that currently in Poland there are a number of different programs stimulating or supporting Polish industry at various levels. And for our program of supporting domestic industry, we don't want to change this order, but to a certain degree we want to supplement and complement these programs which already exist with what was still missing in other programs. So we see that different ministries or agencies, so the Ministry of State Assets, the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Funds and Development, the Ministry of Infrastructure, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. These different agencies grouped in the Developmental Fund are conducting activities stimulating Polish industry, whether it's raising innovation, internationalization, making more smooth the cooperation between institutions and industry. We want to also supplement the governmental program. We see that in these strategies and programs there are certain shortcomings and things that are missing. So what we are preparing, and this program will basically supplement the existing programs. What is also relevant is that we are in the European Union, so we must preserve all principles of assistance and de minimis and state assistance. So what we believe that's something that is very important at the realization of the Polish nuclear program, we came to the conclusion that it would be worthwhile to undertake certain activities aimed at preparing national in local industry. There was, I think, the Nuclear Industrial Association in Great Britain prepared a general statement and a report and how local companies are approaching nuclear projects. That basically shows with which time frame of advancement, whether it's technical negotiations or commercial negotiations, several years before the actual realization of such projects are already being contracted. So it's a minimum of 3-4 years in advance. So because Great Britain and British companies are also importing nuclear industries and nuclear solutions, and many are small enterprises, similar as in Poland, we see that there would be a similar phenomena. So I think that it would be conducive to undertake these actions several years before. Last year, in 2.3, certain actions were undertaken in this program of support of national industry, local industry, which will be published in a few weeks. 5 main areas which we want to realize from next year, and they are the following. One of the first, let's say, main Achilles heel of Polish industry is costly accreditation, certification. We see that there is a considerable obstacle and barrier which sometimes blocks the entrance of national companies, small and medium-sized. Here we want to assist Polish companies in this process, especially education and training. This will be an intensification and continuation. We've done this through the organization of various seminars, mainly technical, so that Polish companies can be introduced in the functioning of standards, norms, nuclear standards, norms, but not only. Point 3, international promotion. This is, I would say, a relatively fast catalyzer, accelerating the competencies. We want to continue this and intensify, and also additional transfer of technologies to local enterprises, and also cluster initiatives in Polish industry. This is a practical tool which we see that raises competencies in Polish industry and facilitates that. The table that I added here, this was also in the Polish nuclear power program last year, and there are certain measures here that we've indicated in the process of certification. Here we, especially starting next year, see that to assist Polish companies, so at least minimum of 10 started this process of nuclear certification. also various types of missions, economic missions or trade missions, or business forums, international business orders, forums organized in Poland, which we would like to do several yearly. The question is in terms of what kind of tools are going to be used in this industrial policy. This is an open question, and soon the document will be available in these consultations. How they're open a question to the ministry. If somebody from Polish industry, whether it's in supporting institutions or industries, whether it's chambers of commerce, institutions of academia, would have some proposals, suggestions, please present those specific proposals, what you would have into consideration, and starting next year, all of this can be realized. This will be all from my side. Thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you an interesting event.